Greetings, friends. Keith Castello here. Some of you, very rightfully, might be asking, who is this guy? Who is Keith Castello, and why should I be interested in what he has to say about religious liberty or school choice? So I wanted to answer that question best I could, as transparently as I can, because there are some really important things, like the fact I am not an attorney. I've never been an attorney. And so if you're looking for someone with constitutional law experience, that is not me. That's not the place I'm coming from as I make these videos and try to organize this effort to win school choice through advocating for religious liberty. So who am I? I think that is a wise question for any of you watching these videos to ask. I'm going to try to answer that succinctly. So those of you who can only take a couple minutes of me, you can be done, move on about your business. And those that want to know a little more, I will go into more detail the latter part of this video. So in short, I was born in Abilene, Texas, moved around a lot, was one of 4 kids. I grew up in my early years. I was a preacher's kid. My dad moved out professionally out of the ministry when I was in late elementary school, but we moved around a lot. I went to college believing that I wanted to be an aerospace engineer and design planes. That's what I had wanted to do since I was in 7th grade. And the various number of circumstances led me away from that. I switched majors several times and ended up getting an English literature degree with a political science minor. So natural transition, obviously. And then I went from my bachelor's degree straight to seminary and spent a number of years in seminary studying theology and education. And then I went to graduate school and got a master's degree in humanities and did further education work. And then I'm about to finish a PhD in educational organizational leadership. And I'm down to I'm writing my dissertation right now on that. So that's my background, and that's the context that I come from in making these videos. I also, my professional life, I've worked in Christian education for more than 20 years. And I was a teacher and coach and did that for a number of years. I moved into administration, and I've worked as a head of school for 18 years of my career at this point. So that's a quick nutshell background. For those of you a little more interested, so I was born in Abilene. We moved a lot. So I lived in not only Texas, but different stints in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Indiana growing up. So I got a real smattering of lots of different places. I lived in 18 different homes before I went to college. So we moved a lot. I did not have a great deal of continuity with an all-public school education that I received, but my parents were pretty dutiful about finding the best school district wherever we happened to be, and would enroll me and my siblings in that school, moved to that area. So I did have the advantage of my parents doing research and finding the best possible public school by the ratings wherever we were. And so I did head off to college thinking I'd be in aerospace engineering. I had a great roommate my freshman year who was a junior mechanical engineering major. And he was the one that told me that I don't think you're supposed to do what you think you're supposed to do. And he actually gave me some great advice to go talk to some working aerospace engineers. The end of that process led me to try to discover what my calling was. And I really did pursue that. I had a number of transitional experiences that eventually led me to an English literature degree and a political science minor. And I realized and thought I'm not terribly marketable. That's the way I felt about it. When I graduated, I did not see myself in education or as a teacher. And so I graduated in August, and 2 weeks later started seminary. And I studied theology at Dallas Theological Seminary. I was there for 3 years. And then I ended up moving from there when it seemed clear that God was not calling me into church work, which is what I was praying for. And it was about that time I started in full-time education in K through 12 Christian schools. And so I worked as a teacher and coach, and then eventually went to University of Dallas, which is a great liberal arts college. It's actually a Catholic university in Irving, Texas. And I did a master's in humanities there. And I really feel like that probably was as formative for my thinking and the fullness of my education as any of my experiences. But I also went to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary and did 3 years in their Christian school education program. And then eventually went to enrolled at Liberty University for a PhD in educational organizational leadership. And I'm, God willing, will complete that in the fall of this year, 2022. So that's my educational background. And I've worked in K through 12 Christian schools or pre-K through 12 Christian schools for more than 20 years now. And I love that environment. I've learned so much in that environment, even though that was not what I grew up with. I didn't go to a Christian school growing up, but I came to love it from the instant I stepped foot on the first campus and stuck with that. And so during that time, I came to some really strong convictions about wanting access to Christian education to be greater. And I knew enough about the Constitution and constitutional history, the history of the nation's founding, that I was disturbed by what we have in place for educational funding and believed ardently that it was contrary to constitutional norms. So I had hoped for years that someone would come forward that would carry the mantle of striving for religious liberty through school choice. And over the years, I just became more and more convicted that that's what I was supposed to do. And so I have launched out on that endeavor in part. That's what I'm doing as executive director for Kyrie Christian Education Services. And there are other pieces of that other videos will show. But in short, I'm really striving for religious liberty through school choice. I'm also trying to establish a franchise system of Christian schools that are structured in such a way that it makes them much more accessible to a wider range of socioeconomic families. And you can watch videos on that if you're interested in that part. But that's really who I am. So I'm one of 4 siblings. I was the second of the 4 of us. And we were very close growing up, and we all were very active in church. And then I met my wife while I was in college. We both waited tables at the same location, and we got married right at the end of that college experience, and we have 2 children. So I have loved being a father and seeing my kids grow up within the Christian schools where I worked. So my children attend one of those Christian schools where I've worked, and they've been there since they entered 3-year-old pre-K. I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old currently, and God willing, they will finish their entire education program there at that school where I worked all those years. I was their headmaster for many years, and I think there may be some relief from them when I moved out of that role and started these other endeavors, that they're not the headmaster's son. They are at their school. But all of those things have given me a really rich experience for understanding Christian education, understand the needs that are there. And so it's from that context that I make these videos, and that's the source of the passion and conviction I have about these topics. Blessings.